Hello, good morning, and welcome to the P&B Morning Show. My name is Isa No, and on this Monday, a very beautiful Monday, and I believe so many Nigerians are already going to their places of work. And so much is expected to happen this week. And for many Nigerians who are yet to get direction of what the government is doing, definitely the National Assembly will be resuming this week to further put so much on the budget that was presented by the president just some weeks back. That's last year, December 2024. And for those of us that are abreast, so much happened within that time frame. And here with me in the studio is my co-host,
Abraham Abba. You're welcome.
Abraham, good morning. And so many things happened over the weekend. Just last week, we had a situation whereby the president received the foreign affairs minister of Chinese. And the expectation was that there would be a swap deal. And that swap deal has to do with the issue of our currency. Instead of using the dollar for the international market, now you use yuan. And then it makes it more easier for transactions.
So are you looking at the president doing a beautiful work?
No, for me, I think it is all about trade influence. And if we have a situation where the volume of our trade is increasing, and it also commensurates with the Naira-Yuan swap, that will further strengthen the Naira. So that's my interest, but I'm not yet in trade. So maybe you are in trade, I don't know.
Well, let's see how it goes.
Well, so much is expected to actually happen. And just like I told you earlier on, that the National Assembly definitely will be resuming to further have major conversation on the budget. So many Nigerians are actually optimistic that the 2025 budget will be a thing that many Nigerians are going to benefit from. But one key aspect of all these has to do with the Ministry of Livestock, a ministry that was just created by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that for many Nigerians, they said this is one of the best way to go. For many of us who understood the challenges that comes with Boko Haram insecurity in the northeast, down to the issue of banditry, so many Nigerians have actually agitated that the creation of this particular ministry is actually going to further help in ensuring that there is good relationship between the herders and then the farmers. And that way, it will also reduce the insecurity in some parts of the country, most especially the northwest and then the north central. But still, Nigerians are actually amazed with respect to the 2025 budget being presented, or that was presented by the president, with a budget that was less than 5 billion naira for the new ministry. So many Nigerians are concerned that how can this budget of 1.77 billion naira help to revitalize that particular sector? But then don't forget that the Ministry of Livestock was a department in the Ministry of Agriculture. So having a budget of 1.77 trillion, will that be enough? But at the end of the day, we discovered that the former INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Jega, who also head the presidential team when it comes to the issue of livestock advice to the president, he did say that so much is yet to happen. He has also made us to be more optimistic than what we thought when the budget was presented, stating clearly that the Ministry of Livestock, there are so many international interests in that particular ministry, most especially coming from the bigger boys in the global space. I mean, this time around, the Chinese and the United States. So with that, we'll be starting our morning this morning with a conversation with one of the members of the Nigerian Institute of Animal Science, an expert in the field of animal science, and to have this conversation and tell us more about the opportunities that lies within this ministry. And just like Professor Mahmoud Jega has made us to be optimistic, let us hear from the lecturer, and but that will be coming just after the break. from that mile break. And then just before the break, I did inform you that Mr. Abdusalam will be joining us. Abdusalam Muhammad will be joining us from his location in Zaria. He is an expert in animal science and also a member of the Nigerian Institute of Animal Science. Being a lecturer, he has carried out so many research within this particular field, and they were at the forefront of ensuring that, yes, there should be a Ministry of Livestock. And at the same time, I remember during the course of the Nigerian Institute of Animal Science, before that particular institute was registered, it took them so much before it was registered. And now, the Nigerian Institute of Animal Science has been there for some time, and I know they will be very, very happy with the creation of this livestock. So, Mr. Abdulsalam, good morning, and welcome to the P&B Morning Show.
Good morning, Mr. Isa. Thank you so much for having me. And good morning to our listeners.
Okay, thank you so much. Let us just quickly move straight to the course of conversation this morning. One key issue that has been there for some time now has to do with the Ministry of Livestock. Earlier last year, the president created that particular ministry. And for many of you that are in the Nigerian Institute of Animal Science, what were your reactions to this particular creation of that particular ministry?
Actually, it was a welcome idea. It's a course that has been long overdue. And actually, the members, the institute as a whole, NIAS, that is the Nigerian Institute of Animal Science, actually welcomed the idea because it's a welcome idea in order to contain a lot of issues, one of which is the issue of the farmer header clash that has been a very major problem affecting various communities and then causing a setback in terms of the, livestock production. And then also, it will create a platform for, specialists in terms of animal science and veterinarians to have massive input in terms of developmental input, in terms of research and then innovations in order to drive the livestock sector in the Nigeria to a greater height. So it was a welcome idea where we're really happy about it.
Okay, after the creation of that particular livestock ministry, if you remember, it was a department in the Ministry of Agric. And so many Nigerians, after the president made that announcement that there will be a new Ministry of Livestock, it actually took him some months before he came up with the minister of that particular ministry. Looking at the book and looking at what the Nigerian Institute of Animal Science has always pushed for, do you see this actually as a major opportunity, not just in terms of security, but in terms of economy?
Yes, we see it as a measure, but in terms of, let me start in terms of the security. In terms of security, you can see that over part of the mandate of that ministry is to provide, most like ambulatory services for people that are, particularly livestock inclined for the nomads and the pastoralists, because it's been a major problem, because they move about with their animals in terms of search of a greener pasture, slightly in terms of feed resources, because in livestock production, feed cost takes about 70 to 75% of total cost of production. So when feed cost is high, you expect that the produce or the product rather from this production is going to be high, and then it takes on the normal consumer. Now this herders, they normally move around with the animals. Now this is where there's always issue of security, where in the course of their moving around for such of feed and pasture, they encroach into lands or farmlands of this communities, local communities, and then it leads to clashes. There's loss of life, properties, and resources. Now it has been a major problem. So now this ministry, one of the mandate is to create, probably to establish the available, grazing reserve in some form of ranches where these nomads actually settle, and then have, they feed their animals well. They have their animals cared for in terms of veterinary services, and then also they are provided with social amenities for their livelihood. So, doing this, as a mandate of the ministry, to contain the issue of the security in terms of the clashes. And then, overall, there's going to be increased productivity in terms of the livestock production, and then which will actually increase to the GDP of of Nigeria as a whole, because livestock play a basic role in terms of GDP. There's a contribution of livestock. I think, if I'm not mistaken, up to about 1.9%. GDP contribution in terms of the livestock sector. So when this ministry being in place, this livestock are being kept in this controlled environment, where they reduce the stress of have to travel in long distance, because the trekking of the stress of have to travel long distance with this animal tend to reduce the productivity as a whole.
Okay, but one key aspect, if you go back to the period of, let me say, the tenure of President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, there was this particular program they created, that's the Almajiri School, and entails in it so many schools that were built in rural grazing area, for these elders, which actually, for many Nigerians, they say it actually helped. And as at that particular point in time, even when the issue of banditry was about to kickstart, it didn't actually rear its head fully, because of that particular provision that was made for them. But then still, there were still issues with respect to how can we have a successful ranching system in the country. But one key aspect that you've actually stated, that when these herders move from one place to the other, it reduces the quality or the economic value of these cattle, or probably the livestock that they are moving from one place to the other. One key factor that is very, very important in all this is that there's this relationship between the herders and the farmers. If they stop moving from point A to point B, do you think that will actually stop the insecurity? And do you see the possibility of them even stopping moving from one place to the other?
Yes, the possibility of them moving from one place to another, I think, is not completely something they cannot do when the proper mechanism is put into place. You see, like for the Fulani herders, let me put it that way, or for the nomads, they actually independently depend on themselves, to rear their animals. They care for their feeding, they care for the vaccination, they take that sole responsibility themselves. So they feel like, taking care of these animals is their sole responsibility, because some of them feel like the government has abandoned them. So therefore they have to, look for ways or means, in fact, by every means to make sure that their animals are well fed, even at the detriment or at the expense of, the normal farmer who produces his food crop for his own consumption and that of his family. Now, you see, when there is proper enlightenment, and then these people, these nomads see that the government is serious, and then every mechanism is put in place. When I say mechanism, like for instance, example of what I saw recently of His Excellency Governor of Borno State, trying to put structures, in place, social amenities in place, to make sure that these nomads have almost 90% to 95 to 90, almost 95% to 99% of their needs, catered for, in the form of, giving them actually a space, or a feeding ground, in form of ranches, where quality pastures now, in terms of the improved pasture seeds varieties, are being established for these animals to feed well. You understand? There's quality supply of water. Mr. Nu, let me tell you, one of the problems, for the livestock production is inadequate feed and water. It is because of this inadequate feed and quality water that makes nomads to actually move from point A to point B, because they are searching for food. There's seasonal variation in terms of feed availability. Feed becomes very available during rainy season, meanwhile become very scarce during dry season. Now, because of this variation, it now stimulate these nomads to move from point A to B, just for food. Now, it is in the course of this traveling or movement that a lot of vices or a lot of problems come in. Now, if they are guaranteed by the government that, okay, look, there is a place designated for you, established for you, your animals can have qualitative feed in terms of first class, pasture feed material or fodder, and then you can stay there. Your children can go to schools, their local schools, community schools. There's healthcare where if you fall sick, you can go. There's also veterinary clinics where these animals can be treated to, and then there's also ambulatory services. So what will be I think there will not be any need for the nomads to actually move from point A to B. And if there is, because some of them have taken it as a culture and a habit, there will be very, very negligible amount of these people that are moving from point A to B. And over the years, this is sustained, you know, other people who are having the intention of moving from point A to B will now be seeing that the other ones that are stationed in one environment are doing better. You understand? With less stress, and therefore they will be forced to subconsciously adopt the same style, because what will be the essence of me suffering, spending more, and then subduing myself to more stress and all and hardship. Meanwhile, my animals at the end of the day will not do as much as those that have been, stationed in one place. And then in terms of the quality, so it will take stakeholders and also, various stakeholders, like for the animal scientists, the researchers, the farmers, the ranchers, and then the policy makers. When they make these policies, they make sure that they try to put measures in place to make sure that there's compliance. And then when there are people who can form cooperatives, to help, market products from this animal in terms of milk, in terms of meat, in terms of skin and hide. When people who are stationed are being provided with better market opportunities, all these all these all these advantages will now make those who are having the intention of moving from point A to point B to actually want to change their mind and have a rethought or rethink and station their animals too. I think, but this will take time if there's consistency and that can if there's sustainability.
Okay,
I think that
you've raised critical issues still on that particular aspect that has to do with the value chain of these livestock, and I believe that's where many of them actually don't really understand the primary reason why there is need for that change. The fact remains that there's so much in terms of livestock procedures, and then also there are so many gains in terms of the value chain. But let me allow my co-host to also respond, ask you one or two questions before I return back, because there are so many issues that you've raised there, the issue of the security and then the issue of the pasture.
Good morning, Mr. Mohammed.
Good morning, sir.
Yes. My question is, are we going to see the state executive going into this with full breath? Are we going to see, because most times you see the state executive trying to go away from what the federal government is doing. From this one, what do you think will happen from the state government and the state government aspect?
Okay, thank you very much. Personally, I think what I think will happen is most of these state governors, especially those from the northern region or northern zones, will want to key in or want to align with the already the action or the the executive governor of Borno said what he actually did. He just paved a way, to prove to people that or the other state governors that this can be achieved and it can be done, and it is a commendable effort from his own aspect. Now I can see that based on this, what he created was the first in the country, or actually is in recent times the first in the country, and then the other state governors keep a close monitoring eyes to see like what progress can be made or what progress is being made from this development that has been done by the executive governor of Borno State. So I think other state governors too will want to key in so that not to be left out, because based on what I read about the action of the governor, Borno State governor, there are a lot of benefit that comes with it. Stating the fact that 461 nomadic families are going to benefit from this. It is a direct impact on his own community, especially in his own aspect, the community has been affected by Boko Haram. Now you can see that in the north, when I said northern state, you can see states like Sokoto, states like Kebbi, Zamfara. These are states they have a lot of issues in terms of the security. These people are being displaced, and these people are, they are crying for help from the government. So the government have been looking for possible ways in order to, ease this effect of banditry, and cattle rustling in these areas. Now, this singular action that is being done by the Borno State governor, it will provide a key. I think is a way out for other governors to key in and then do something like that, so that their immediate communities will be engaged, and then if security will be provided in order to cater for those nomads that have been sent to settle in a particular area. You believe me that you agree with this will go a long way in solving some of these community problems that are being faced by these people. The governors, I believe personally, they will want to key in so that they will carry it along, because now eyes are on them. Their followers looking up to them to do similar or even better than what the governor of Borno State or is doing already presently. So I believe they will.
Mr. Mohammed, I'm still on. What are we going to see with the increase in export, the conflict resolution? Because that has been one of the bone of contention with the headers and the farmers. So what's going to happen with this creation of this Ministry of Livestock?
Okay, if I can just come in, just in addition to what Mr. Abraham Abba just stated. Now, if you look keenly to this particular issue, the United States itself, the United States, the Chinese, they are all interested. They all have interest in this particular Ministry of Livestock. And just like Professor Mahmoud Jega said, if the director can just scroll some of those pictures, just like when Professor Mahmoud Jega said, he stated that the Chinese, for instance, and then the United States have so much interest. And if you look at the beef industry, for instance, if you look at the value chain in the beef industry, you discover that there are so much to do with. And then if you go around, if you go to Mexico, you go to some of the South American countries, you discover that they actually have these ranches. But why is it very, very difficult for ours to actually adopt this? And for so many, it has become more or less like a tribal issue. To an extent, it has become more or less like a religious issue. To an extent, it has also become more or less like a northern versus southern issue. How can we tap into this particular industry, just like the former INEC commissioner stated, and then the special advisor to the president on this issue of livestock, Professor Mahmoud Jega? How can we tap in deeply to actually benefit from this? Because the present minister of Agri, in person of Meiha, for many Nigerians, they believe that he's going to actually transform this particular sector. And for you people that are in the field, do you see the minister actually doing what is expected with what he has started in Borno State?
Yes, actually, we see that it's a commendable effort for what the minister is doing, because the minister have been going also around the states to actually, have consultations, how it did, and then some of the institutes also within the states, how to key in and help to improve the mandates, or to make sure that the mandate is being actualized. Now, I can see what the formal INEC chairman, Professor Jega, actually is actually true. A lot of these foreign investors, or international communities, are actually looking for opportunities to come into African countries to actually sell their produce or their products. Now, this ministry, first of all, how can we, tap into it deeply? I will say, because it's the first in its, in a long time, it's the first of its kind. There's a lot of, I can say almost about 1.77 billion was allocated for this ministry, and then it actually demarcated what it will carry out. It spread its own capital, what it seeks to achieve, using this amount of money. And then if I see part of what it's going to spend the money on, there's part of the capacity for stakeholder. There's issue of vaccine, workshops, trainings, and then buying of equipment or every equipment or machines that will make sure that they achieve this their mandate. I think that there's been a mark for that. Now we can benefit from this if there is all sense of seriousness from the aspect of the government and the people or the stakeholders who will be engaged in carrying out some of these functions. You see, it takes more than just your payments. um yes, more than payments to retain people who will carry out this form of functions effectively. It takes people who have also passion and who have the zeal and commitment and the passion to move the country as a whole to a great height. For example, if I tell you, if the ministry can source people who are like the animal scientists, the veterinarians, the ranchers, people who have the country in heart, who are passionate about their profession in terms of theory and then the practice. Now, people who are this is what they do, they love it for the love of it. When they get people like this, and then these people are being supported, and the government show that they are actually really serious about this, I bet you people will deeply benefit. Talk about the quality of the livestock produce we have. You see, in the value chain of the livestock, almost everything is utilized, nothing is wasted. Now, if the government as serious as if we can see that they are showing that they are serious in this ministry, now you can see that where there is going to be collaborations, where we feel that the local needs need to be upskilled. For instance, we talk about the pasture seed. We need to engage people, the animal scientists who will go into pasture breeding to give us more pasture seeds or varieties. They give us more quality, have higher biomass. When I mean higher biomass, they have higher yield. And the pasture seeds give you higher biomass within short period of time. Probably we can develop seeds that can produce twice in a year. Do you understand? They give you this value twice in a year. They give you large amount of biomass, so the animals will have enough, for feeding. You get it? That is for the improved seeds, and then this needs to be tolerant to our own local environment through feeding and selection. This can be done. The same thing for the animal aspect. The animals now we have, like our local animals, like the white Fulani, the Bunai, and the rest. You understand? You can find that they produce amount of milk compared to the breeds of freeze bulls. Now when we have these international collaborators, they come to improve our local breeds through artificial insemination. We can crossbreed, we can upgrade. Some institutions as an APRI, we're doing something like that. If they can also be key in this, they'll provide this, this an enabling ground for us to actually improve the breed or the stock of animals we have.
Okay.
This can, at the end of the day, improve the total productivity in terms of meat, in terms of milk, in terms of the skin and hide.
Okay, Absalam, unfortunately, we've run out of time. I'm very, very happy, and I can see the vibe in you this morning to actually dispense some of the issues within that particular ministry or sector. A very, very good one, being the fact that you are an expert in the field, and then you've seen the loopholes, and now the president has taken a major dimension to address that. And also with the coming of the foreigners from the Chinese and the US, definitely we should be expecting more in that particular ministry. Thank you so much for joining us on the P&B Morning Show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, this is how we can go with Muhammad Abdusalam, a member of the Nigerian Institute of Animal Science and also a lecturer in Abuse area, joining us from his location in Kaduna State. We'll go on a very short break, and when we return, we continue with the conversation. We apologize for the delay in commencement of the newspaper review or preview. And just before we started the program this morning, we did inform you of some of the pertinent issues happening in the country. And amongst them is the issue of security. So if you look through today's newspaper, you discover that there are so many key issues on it. And then let's start with the first one as we have it on the screen. On Blueprint this morning, we have air ground assault devastates Turji's stronghold and kills scores. And the camps are definitely decimated in Zamfara state. So many people have actually raised critical issues, so many complaints about the raid that is being carried out by the military or the defense, or probably also the bomb blast or whatsoever they call it, reconnaissance survey not properly done and the rest. So this is one key aspect again when we discuss the issue of insecurity in the country.
If you look at what the Nigerian Air Force is doing, I think is in collaboration with all the other bodies. But even as it is, people will still complain and make a lot of suggestions. But the truth of the matter is that this terrorists, if I should call them, they hide in with the people. They go to these villages and they stay among them. And most times, even when you tell them, okay, they should come out and tell the security agencies who are these people, you get the point. They find it very hard to do it. And that's why, like the other one that happened in Katsina, I think one of the family said they actually had information from the Air Force that okay, they're going to take some drastic measure on these issues if they are not able to go out of these people. And going out of these bandits or terrorists is not that easy. So that's why you see most times if they come to do they come for this assault, it looks as if they are on the people. But for me, I feel since the terrorists are not ready to step aside, then there should be a lot of casualties. We've seen a lot of this in a state like Benue when we have during President Obasanjo, there's this local people that refuse to bring out those people that are causing havoc in that area. And then Mr. President Olusegun Obasanjo said, okay, since you are not ready to bring out, you said they are your children, then we're going to wipe out the whole community.
And that's, we are referring to Zaki Biam and Odi
yes,
massacre.
So most of these things, if you want to find peace, there are times that the people, the villagers feel so like, okay, these are our children. They start pampering them and all that. And then these guys continue laying terror even among the people. So I think the best thing is let's just try to caution the military apparatus on these issues.
That's a very good one. And just like you mentioned, Obasanjo, just beneath that particular picture of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the president or the leader of Dubai, Abu Dhabi, just beneath it, you see Jimmy Carter saved me from Abacha's gulag.
Yes.
That's Obasanjo,
No, he knows,
his memory with respect to how the trial was for him during Abacha's era.
He's one man that really saw hell. He saw hell. It's just that God kept him.
Well, he's a military man.
No,
he has seen it all. So
how many military were there? You know, but he saw the other side of Abacha.
Yes.
You know, Abacha is one man that you cannot play nonsense around him. And then he said, okay, you are my Oga, but for you to come and start telling me how to rule, how to do my thing, I think you need to go on the ground. Let's teach you some lesson.
And Jimmy Carter, that he just mentioned, actually late Jimmy Carter.
Yes, he's 100.
100.
Yes.
He died within his 100. And
yes,
so many global leaders have actually been commending and sending eulogy to the president of the United States.
Yes, you see, I was watching a documentary about this president of America. If you see where he died, if you see the house, it's not a duplex. It's not this estate. All he had then is just a room and a three bedroom. I get in it. Then he has some ranches just close to him. You could see it's an open field where there is no security, where there is no barbed wire all over the areas, and with a tall fence. This man died in his ranch. You get the point. He died in his village, if I should call
Not
it.
in his luxury.
Not
like
in his luxury.
In Africa.
Not in this very big mansion. When I saw it, I was like, wow, this is something the leaders of Africa should learn from. Because if you see the Africa, just look at Zimbabwe president Robert Mugabe that died. If you see the number of money he embezzled, this is a country that
Well,
million naira.
We shouldn't go as
no,
far
I want
as
to go
Zimbabwe.
there because
we
have,
here in Nigeria.
Yes,
if you look at what happened during the first tenure of President Muhammad Buhari,
good.
You discover that a general, a politician. Let us not even go far. Just a few days, we had a conversation with the head of media and publicity of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission.
Yeah, but I asked him
don't
a
forget
question.
that. Yes, but let us not forget that. And then he did mention, and many Nigerians confirmed. Look at what was gotten from Emefiele. So, to what end?
No,
that's the question.
That is the myopic mindset of the Nigerian politicians and
greed.
those in power. Greed. You know, when you are so greedy, you try to take to your fourth generation. And are you sure they are going to be fourth generation?
I have someone just recently who built so many businesses and the rest for the child, and unfortunately the child said, look, I don't care about this, I'm leaving the country. So that's just it. Anyway, they said luxury is just for time being. So now, just by the side of it, we have Kano State, Kano Emirship tussle, Bayero reject verdict as for Supreme Court. Still the tussle between brothers. The tussle, they say these are they call it the Game of Thrones for many who are in Kano State.
Yes, please.
So what was your thought?
Well, you see, for Ado, the yes, you see, for me, I feel there's one thing that you should learn from Sunusi. When that issue happened during the Ganduje era, he quietly left, and they took him to one village in Kiana or what, and then he was there until when people like El Rufai and others intervened. But you see, for the present governor, if he wanted to do that to Aminu, I think he would have tormented him like that. But he want to take the drag that, like, okay, let's go by the law. I get in. He said, okay, now this is the man that was there, but the former governor ousted him out illegally. Now we go back to the court, and the court said, okay, what they find with this guy is not what the governor brought. Now we're going to reinstate him. Now you are just staying there for him for some time. Why don't you kindly say, okay, he stayed for me. You get, like, okay, he's my elder brother. Let me go aside so that he will continue his reign.
This just reminds me about the Game of Thrones, just like I did told you. Now, for me, it is not just an issue between brothers.
Yes.
This is an exogenous influence. There's an exogenous political influence.
Of course.
It is between the NNPP to a greater extent,
yes, and the APC.
And the APC.
Yes.
Because we saw after the appeal court judgment where the former contestant of that particular seat, the governorship seat, that's the former deputy governor of Kano State, who actually paid visits to Aminu Ado Bayero, and in that same presence was the former DSS boss in person of Bichi. They all went there to pay him visit, and there's this toga that people are actually planting behind him to make him still feel that, look, the emirate is actually divided into two: the camp of Senusi and then the camp of Aminu Bayero. But at the end of the day, the umbrella signature is that there is a political undertone in this particular tussle. Mind you, the appeal court actually resident in Kano. Now they are going to the Supreme Court. That is where justice will be final. So it will be a tug of war. It is just like I said. Well, the appeal court have the APC. That's the state appeal court. And now
the Supreme Court.
Why the Supreme Court? Well, let us not preempt what the court will say.
Okay.
So let us quickly move to the next on the newspaper review. Let us look at the next one. If we can have that on the screen now. And the Daily Times: why Nigeria needs a focused leadership. Adum. This is a very huge one because focused leadership. In the world, do we
Yes.
actually focus? Do we have focused
Yes,
leadership?
in Africa and Nigeria, it seems to me that issue of focused leadership is gradually
Derailing.
derailing, because you could see a president who is not concentrating on, okay, let me continue from where my predecessor finished, or let me do one or two things that will make posterity remember me. I getting it? So these are some of the things you see with the leadership in Africa and Nigeria. You see a state governor that will just come in, and the next thing he does is he will wipe away everything that has been done with the predecessor, because they are majorly not in the same party, or majorly, because that is why I give kudos to Wiki and people that the federal government. You could see all the project that has been done. Some are done by the administration of El Rufai. Most of the road you could see Wike took them and said, okay, no, this is not the Abuja we have in the master plan. Now we want to create that kind of Abuja. And then he continued doing it, like a road in somewhere in Buari. That road has been there since 1978. But do you know that when Wiki went there, he said, no, this is not what was on the master plan. Can we make it a two-lane kind of road? And these are some of the things we're looking at. We want a leader that will come in, either in the Senate, whether in the House of Rep, anywhere you are, a councillor, and you come to see, okay, there's a project going on from my predecessor. I should pick it and say, okay, Malam Isa could not finish this, and then he has put a lot of money in this project. Let me continue from there, so that the people will gain the benefit of democracy. But you see, most of them, they will come with their myopic mindset, is how they will we gain money for 4 years, and which is so, I feel so bad about it. And I feel, why do you go for this campaign? What are you telling the people? Didn't you go back to, like, okay, let me go to my previous videos to watch when I went to this village, this is what I was telling these people, and now I am in this throne. What should I continue from? I getting it? Because most times if you go to these villages, they will keep telling you, sir, this is what we have in the previous, but this is what we want. Can you do it for us? And you shout yes. And then you see that when they get to that power, they refuse doing any of those things. Then that is why Adum, I don't know, is it a name of a person
No, it
or
definitely
a
is a name.
company?
But it's a name of a person. But let us
Okay.
quickly move to the next newspaper now on the screen. If we can have the director, if you can just put up the next one. And on Vanguard, let us quickly look at this. OPEC quota eludes Nigeria amid rising oil output. And that has to do with energy, and so much is expected when it comes to energy. And on the screen there also you have the photo of the president and the leadership of Abu Dhabi just when the president arrived the country. I think it was received by a minister of state,
Wow.
where many Nigerians have actually condemned. Why should the president of the largest black, the country with the largest black nation, be received by a minister of state? But then still, there are so much that is expected for us to do in terms of our foreign affairs target. Now, just beneath that, we have the PDP crisis. Fear grips secretariat staff as activities resume. You know, just recently, a journalist was actually attacked in
In
the
the
PDP
secretariat,
secretariat,
yes.
and which many Nigerians have actually condemned, including the Nigerian Union of Journalists, calling for a proper investigation of that particular scenario. Well, it's not very, very good that you attack a journalist
Well,
who is actually the voice of your party.
for me,
Without the journalists, how do you expect political parties to actually
yes,
move?
you see what I discovered about the PDP, they have lost focus, because most times you see they are fighting themselves instead to fight the opposition. Instead of them to say, okay, let's continue pushing to this thing. But you see, they have this infighting. You are not there. You are not there. I'm the one there. You get the point. They should forget about all this fight in the house, and then they should focus on how do we get to the center. How do we get most of this state? Are you getting it? Not this thing they do every day. And then I feel so concerned that, are these people ready to take over from the APC, if at all they're going to get it? Because looking at all this infighting you see in the secretariat, in the state secretariat, in the local government secretariat, anywhere you find them, you always see this fight. So I now ask myself, are PDP ready for the main opposition? Because to me, they are just opposing each other in the party.
But that's what is expected, and
In the
that's
party.
well, no, it is
They are not
expected.
doing outside the party.
What I'm saying, it is expected because
Yeah.
there is an external influence in the party.
Well,
So many of them have actually stated this very, very clear that there is an external influence in the PDP, and that's why you can see that some of them, in places like Show Me today, they are all actually dancing with some other political parties, and that actually is a sign that the drum towards 2027 have actually started. But then we expected that the government should focus still on governance rather than politicking at this particular point in time. And still on the Punch, still on Vanguard, just at the left-hand corner of the headline, you see Emirship Tosul Bayero heads to Supreme Court. That's Aminu Ado Bayero. Now, in this particular case, let us juxtapose it with what is happening in Oyo State. There was issue of the
They are
kingmakers.
laughing, right?
Yes, they are laughing of Oyo. The kingmakers, there were so many rumors they collected bribe, allegedly, that they collected bribe. Each kingmaker was given 50 million naira.
Wow.
For many of the kingmakers, allegedly, for many of the kingmakers, it is believed that whenever a king passed away,
okay.
that is the time for them to actually make more money.
Oh.
That is the time for them to actually allot lands to people and then sell lands and then get more money. So the tussle started. And based on what I read, with respect to that of the Alaafin of Oyo, the governor had to call a professor whose focus is actually on Ifa. And then they did their finding, and then Owade name emerged as the leader. So the tussle is still there. But then it is not as that of the Kano State. So why is the Kano State staying this long? It actually tells you that for me, it is not an in-house fight. For me, there is an external influence that is actually making this
But
this
a
long.
lot of people in Oyo State are really pointing hand at the governor. They say he handpicked the new
Yes,
Alaafin.
but then the governor actually, he called. He called a professor that is actually specialized on IFA to please do your findings. Who is actually supposed to be?
Oh, that
the
is
leader?
what happened.
That's what happened based on what I read. Some of the
Okay.
articles that were online.
Because you see, the same thing happened in Kaduna when the emir of Zaria died. I think El Rufai did the same thing. He now called the professor now.
Yeah.
He called him and said, okay, let's go back to the books. Which house is supposed to be the next if this man died? And they said, no, it's the Bamaliv family. And that is how, but some people felt so bad. They said it's the other man in so you see,
there are so much. There are so much
yes.
I would not like to reveal because to an extent I was in Zaria, so so much. There are so many political interests whenever it comes to the issue of kinship in any of our region. So let us quickly move to the Punch. If we can have the Punch now on the Punch newspaper, just at the top left-hand corner of the newspaper, see the PDP factional secretaries set for showdown vow to resume today. So many journalists will be heading that direction today.
No, it's a place to get a lot of news today. So, but for me, I will always say, I don't know what is the issue. If this man is not ready to do the bidding of PDP, why not they carefully take him to court? For them to start fighting each other, it doesn't make any good name for them, because gradually we're dancing to 2027, and now is the time for them to start setting their house in order. Because if they cannot have it, when will they have it?
Okay, let us still on this particular newspaper. You see just the headline on the Punch. We have Dangote NNPCL total 247 farms dump discos generate 6,500 megawatts. That's a very good one for Nigerians, and if we can have these alternatives, definitely it is going to actually boost
for
our energy supply.
Dangote has been doing this even when he started Obajana.
Yes.
Do you know what he did? The whole of Obajana, he's the one giving them electricity. He took them out of the grid. So for him to do this is one of his major way of let me do my own bidding. Let me give myself electricity, because I cannot rely on this off and on you see from the grid. So if these people will do this, if the NNPC, Total, and others will come up with a measure to generate their own electricity, it will help a lot. I getting it? Because most of these manufacturers, the small manufacturing companies, should have this power to themselves.
Okay. Still on this same newspaper, we have Oyo files murder charges against Oni's ex-queen. Others. You
Well,
remember that December
yes, she too,
disaster?
she came out to like, I saw something on the TikTok. She said, actually, it's the Oni that is pushing all this her punishment, that because she left him and all that. You know, she just makes
The
it kind of,
exes,
there's the
the
exes. She
ex
said,
ex-wife
yes,
and former husband.
yes.
So
So is
it's a
that
battle
is a
between.
battle
Well,
between,
we
yes.
don't know. Maybe there's still something that they want to actually ignite, and we pray that it shouldn't actually be on the negative stage. It should be something positive for both of them. The Oni is a very huge stool, and definitely being an ex-queen of the Oni of Ife is also a remarkable one. And we expect that the government should actually do the needful, because so many lives were actually lost on that same day. And just on the Nation newspaper, let us quickly take the Nation newspaper as the last one now. We just have 2 minutes to round this up. On the Nation newspaper, we have the federal government ministerial panel to enforce council autonomy. That's a very good one for the local government. And then in the FCT here, we have the area council. So,
Of course, yes. You see,
but the FCT has been enjoying this for long. So,
yes, for FCT, it has been like, but they have very bad council chairman, especially some areas in the
the
federal.
FCT.
Yes, but if you see what is happening in Amak and Buhari, you could see that sense of council. You could see the council chairman doing a lot, but not with other area council in the Abuja. Like if you go to Agwalada, you like, is this man really working with all that he have there? If you go to Kwali, if you go to Kuje, you see a lot of things that is wrong about these people.
No, but one issue we should say, and we should be very, very clear. These people are actually from us. They are amongst us.
Okay.
And most at times, you discover that sometimes, let me not say most at times, you discover that some of our leaders are actually not even well educated
Okay.
about leadership, what
Okay.
it entails.
Okay.
They just want to lead.
They just want
So
to
they don't actually understand what it means. You
leadership.
cited a very good example of Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
And look at the kind of life he lived after being president of America, a well-known president globally. So when you have that like this in some of the local government council, in the councillors, you start questioning yourself, because some of them actually talks. How do you get there? It was because they were involved in Togri and the rest. But then,
you know
let us
why?
not cast it on the stone,
Okay,
that
sorry.
things will definitely
Yes,
change.
you know why? You see why we have this bad leadership. For me, is when you allow the talks. When you allow the talks to take over the rules, of, if people like me and you will come and say, okay, let me go and convey for the chairman of my village, and you do that, you know what will come of it?
Well, so much is expected to come out wherever there's any political tussle.
Yes.
And back to Stuart. But before we go, just at the top of the Nation newspaper, we don't owe First Bank 225 million naira, says General Hydrocarbons. And that has to do with the owner of Arise TV. And this day is an interesting news, because it all started some days back. And we can see just on the front page of the Nation newspaper, we can still see that the former leadership of, I've forgotten the name now, just the one with the president there, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Otedola, I mean to say. So much is happening between Otedola and the owner
But
of
look
this
at
day.
look at
But
what
then,
look at what INEC is saying there. Can you
well,
read it
we
for
don't
me?
have much time to digest all
He
those.
said
So let's
the
today,
diaspora image voted. Do you think it will happen?
well, so much is expected to happen, and definitely we thank you for joining us this morning on the PMB Morning Show. It's indeed a very long day for us today, and it will be a very good day and a very good week for many Nigerians who are actually listening and watching us this morning from your base. As I did say, so much is expected. So be optimistic that you have a very good week. From my hand, I am Isa Nu.
I'm Abraham Abba. Wish you all the best.
So have a wonderful day and stay blessed from the studio PNB Morning Show.